What's going on, everybody? Crazy Dog back for another video. So if you remember earlier today, I did my AFC North draft review. Well, now it's time for me to do my NFC North draft review. So, of course, you already know the drill. I'll be starting off with the basement dweller and working my way up the final standings from last year. So that means I'll be starting off with the Chicago Bears, and then I'll go to the Vikings, then the Lions, and then the Packers. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting off with the Chicago Pooh Bears. Their positions of need in this draft were cornerback, offensive line, tight end, linebacker, safety, and quarterback. Now let's see how they address those positions in the draft, if they did. So with their first round selection, which they traded up one spot to take Mitch Trubisky, quarterback out of North Carolina. Wow. They sent picks and stuff for a guy that would have been there at 3. Good going, Chicago. You guys just love screwing it up, don't you? Making us look good. But yeah, that was a bad move by the Bears. You know, they could have just stayed put and took Trubisky at 3. But they panicked. They thought the Browns were going to, jump up and take him, and they thought they were being smart by jumping ahead of the Niners to take Trubisky when, no, they just looked like an idiot. They got fleeced by the Niners. Wow. We'll see how Trubisky performs in Chicago. Let's just hope he doesn't have to play against us Week 16 when we go down to Soldier Field to face the Pooh Bears. Alright, moving on now to the second round selection. The Chicago Bears selected Adam Shaheen, tight end out of Ashland, with the 13th pick, 45th overall in the second round. He's a pretty good tight end. He's serviceable. I think he'll be really useful in Chicago, with Mike Glennon throwing him the ball. I think he'll have a pretty good career down there in Chicago if he can stay healthy. Because I've been hearing about the field conditions in Chicago are not that good. I don't know. So moving on now to the fourth round, the Bears had 2 selections in that round. The first of which they used on safety Eddie Jackson out of Alabama, who I think is a really good player, and I low-key wanted the Browns to take him later in the draft. Like late rounds, like 5th, maybe 6th round if he was there. And then with their second, 4th round selection, the 13th pick, 119th overall, just 7 picks after selecting Jackson, the Bears select Tariq Cohen, running back out of North Carolina A&T. So you're adding another weapon for that offense. I mean, I like what they're doing. They're giving Glennon some weapons, They don't really have too many great weapons, so they got to do with what they have, So we'll see what happens with Tariq. Never really heard of him, but, I could be shocked. I could be surprised. Maybe this dude has a great career. We'll see if he even makes the squad. And then, with their last pick of the draft, the Chicago Bears selected Jordan Morgan, guard out of Kutztown. Never heard of this dude. Being real though, I've never heard of this dude. So, overall, I'm going to give the Bears draft, I'm going to give it a C. They got some good players like Shaheen and Jackson. They didn't have that many picks. But what really drags it down is what they did to get Trubisky. They could have stayed at 3, and Trubisky most likely would have fallen. Because I don't think the Niners were really going to take Trubisky. It was all a ploy to see who would bite the bullet first. You know, who would pounce at the opportunity to trade up first. And, of course, it was the Bears. So, yeah, I'm giving the Bears draft a definite C. All right, moving on now to the Minnesota Vikings. Remember them last year? They started off hot, and then they just got ice cold quickly, and they never recovered. Typical Vikings fashion, though. You know, they got a brand spanking new stadium and everything, and they played well to start, and then they started to suck after a while. I believe it was after they played the Eagles. What was it, week 6? That's when they started to fall. So y'all Vikings fans can thank the Eagles for your downfall. They triggered the downfall. Because before that game, y'all were undefeated. You face Philly, they beat you, now you just fall by the wayside. So, anyways, looking at their draft needs, the Vikings' position of needs were offensive line, defensive line, running back, linebacker, and safety. So let's see how they address those positions in the draft. Starting with their second round pick, because obviously they didn't have a first rounder. If you don't know why they don't have a first rounder, well, the Vikings panicked after Teddy Bridgewater got hurt. Like, he destroyed his leg, and they had to find a replacement. And, you know, I'm guessing they threw a dart at a dartboard, and it landed on Philly. They called Philly, wanted Sam Bradford. Philly gladly got rid of him. You know, and Philly took advantage of the desperation move by the Vikings to get a few picks. And they even got a pick back in the first round. Before they made that trade with Minnesota, Philly was not in the first round. And how would that have looked if the Eagles were not in the first round when the draft was in their place? Oh, that wouldn't have been too good. No, wouldn't have. No. The NFC East teams would have been trolling them even harder. Oh, I see the Eagles aren't on the board today. You know? But anyways, let's look at the Vikings draft and see how they did. So with their second round selection, the Vikings selected Dalvin Cook, running back out of Florida State. And they actually jumped, I believe, ahead of the Eagles to get this guy. And Dalvin Cook will be the replacement to AP in that offense. I'm guessing Sam Bradford will be their starter again. You know, the dude who, when he feels a little bit of pressure, he folds like a folding chair. He folds like a lawn chair. But Dalvin Cook is that kind of running back that they need. You know, he's very hard to bring down. He's so good at finding holes, too. It takes the pressure off of your offensive line when you got a running back who could find the tiniest of holes and just blow through it, you know? Now, with their third round selection, the Vikings addressed their offensive line by selecting Pat Elflein, center out of Ohio State. Watching this dude at Ohio State his entire college career, this dude's impressive. And I think he will definitely give a boost to that Vikings front line, trying to keep Sam Bradford on his feet and not folding like a lawn chair. Now, after going offense for their first two selections, in the fourth round, they had 2 picks in the fourth round. The Vikings went defense. First, selecting Jaleel Johnson, defensive tackle out of Iowa, with the second pick in the fourth round, 109 overall. They got that pick from the Niners. And with their second pick in the fourth round, 14th pick, 120 overall, they selected Ben Gideon, linebacker out of Michigan. So they addressed the defense with those fourth-round selections. Two very good Big Ten defensive players. Ben Gideon, I've seen him play in high school and, of course, at the team up north. And Jaleel Johnson, I saw him play a little bit in Iowa. Those two are very, very good players. Let me tell you that. You're going to love him in Minnesota. Now, with their fifth-round selections, they had two of them as well. They selected offense again. First, selecting Rodney Adams, out of wide receiver out of South Florida, with the 27th pick, 170th overall in the fifth round from the Chiefs. And then, 10 picks later, still in the fifth round, they selected Danny Isidora, guard out of Miami, with one of their comp picks from the Chiefs. So, two very good picks. They'll help their offense out heavily, giving the offense another weapon and another, guy to protect the quarterback. And now with their sixth-round pick, they had one sixth-rounder. They selected Bucky Hodges, tight end out of Virginia Tech, with the 17th pick, 201st overall in the sixth round from the Redskins. Bucky Hodges is a very good tight end. So there you go. Got yourself a tight end. Now, going to the seventh round, the Vikings were very busy. They had the first two picks in the seventh round, in which they selected Stacy Coley, wide receiver out of Miami, and Ifeadi Odenigbo, defensive lineman out of Northwestern. Okay, I don't really know too much about those two guys. And then they ended their seventh round with Elijah Lee, linebacker out of Kansas State, and Jack Tocho, corner out of NC State. So if I had to give the Vikings draft a grade, I would give it a B, because they pretty much addressed almost every single position of need except for safety, but they got a corner who can pretty much play safety, I'm guessing. He's 6 foot, good size. But, they did a pretty good job of addressing almost every needy position. They especially addressed the offensive line. So maybe Sam Bradford can actually be comfortable in the pocket, doesn't have to worry about folding like a lawn chair. But, yeah. I think the Vikings had a really good draft. I'm definitely giving it a B. All right, now moving on to the team that finished second, the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions only had 4 needs: defensive line, linebacker, tight end, and wide receiver. And they had a good amount of picks, too. So let's see how they address their selections. How they address their needs with their picks. So with their first pick, 21st overall in the first round, the Detroit Lions selected Jared Davis, linebacker out of Florida. Okay, I really like that pick. He's a very good linebacker. Florida has a lot of great players on that defense, and they took one of the best linebackers in Florida. Now moving on to the second round, the Detroit Lions stayed at Florida and selected Teez Tabor, corner out of Florida. So you get a linebacker and a corner from Florida. Okay, I like that, Get 2 guys who really know how to play. Of course, Teez Tabor was slow as heck, though. That's the one thing, he's slow. He had a very slow 40 time at the combine or whatever, pro day. I think it was the combine. But yeah, he's slow. He needs to work on that. But I mean, not like really anyone focuses on a 40 time, But still, that's kind of concerning. He's not fast. I don't know. All right, moving on now to the third round. They had 1 pick, 32nd pick in the third, 96 overall from the Patriots. the Detroit Lions selected Kenny Galladay, wide receiver out of Northern Illinois. Okay, a 6'4" wide receiver. All right. Add another weapon for Matthew Stafford. I like that strategy. Then in the 4th round, one of their 2 picks in the round, the first of which they used to select Jalen Reeves-Maybin, linebacker out of Tennessee. All right, so you get another linebacker. All right, I like that. It's a pretty nice pick. Pretty good player, you know. I mean, after all, linebacker was one of their biggest needs. So, hey, address it, as many times as you can in this draft. So after that, few picks, like 3 picks later, the Detroit Lions selected Michael Roberts, tight end out of Toledo. All right, get another tight end. Another big body to catch the football. All right. And then, moving on to the 5th round, the Detroit Lions selected Jamal Agnew, corner out of San Diego. Don't really know too much about this dude, but he's a decent corner from what I've heard about him. I'm actually reading the pick analysis. I mean, this is going to be a mere depth pick for the defense of secondary. Wouldn't be surprised to see him at slot or nickel corner if he even makes his team. So moving on to the 6th round, the Detroit Lions selected Jeremiah Ledbetter, defensive end out of Arkansas. They actually say in the pick analysis that he's a tweener, defensive end, defensive tackle. But yeah, another depth pick. Okay. And then, still in the 6th round, the Detroit Lions, with the 32nd pick, 215 overall, from the Patriots, selected Brad Kaya, quarterback out of Miami. So there you go. There's your backup to Matthew Stafford in case he ever goes down. Brad Kaya is one of the quarterbacks I wanted the Browns to take if it wasn't for Deshaun Kaiser. It was either Kaya, Dobbs, or Webb. But I'm glad we got Kaiser, But I think Kaya will definitely succeed in Detroit. And then with their last pick of the draft, the Detroit Lions selected Pat O'Connor, defensive end out of Eastern Michigan. So you get a hometown boy, pretty much, from Eastern Michigan. Okay, it's a nice pick. Another pick from the Patriots. Wow, 7th round. All right. So overall, I would give the Lions draft a B+, because they addressed every single need. And they didn't do anything stupid either. I'm looking at you, Chicago. Garbage. I mean, they had a pretty good draft. It's going to be fun to see what the Lions do this year. Of course, we play the NFC North this year, so we'll see the Lions, the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings all this year. And now to round out this video, we got one more team. You guessed it, it's the Green Bay Fudge Packers. The Fudge Packers, what kind of a name is that? But yeah, so looking at the Packers, they had a pretty eventful draft, Their needs were corner, linebacker, D-line, running back, and offensive line. So let's get to the picks. So, of course, they had a first rounder. We traded up from 33 to take David Njoku in front of the Steelers, because for some reason, I'm pretty sure we had a hunch that the Steelers really wanted Njoku. So we pulled a troll move and took Njoku right in front of the Steelers' faces. So we traded with the Packers to do that. So the Packers got 2 of our picks. One in the 3rd, and one in the 2nd, one in the 4th. Both were number 1 picks in the round, the 2nd and the 4th round. So with their first pick in the 2nd round, thanks to us, 33rd overall, the Green Bay Packers selected Kevin King, corner out of Washington. Now, if there was one weakness for the Packers last year, it was their secondary. And Kevin King will be a humongous upgrade over what they used to have last year. I think he'll be a starter day one, too. Well, he better be a starter. I mean, it's round 2. Bruh. Now, if that wasn't enough, literally, like, what was it, 28 picks later, the Packers were at it again, picking Josh Jones, safety out of NC State. So there you go. You address secondary in the round. Secondary's all set to go now. Now into the third round, the Packers must have realized they needed pass rush, run stuffers. So third round, 29th pick, 93rd overall, they selected Montravius Adams, defensive tackle out of Auburn. This was another guy I wanted the Browns to take. But I mean, he's going to Green Bay. He's gonna, love it down there in Green Bay. He'll be stuffing the run like crazy, But of course, we have to face him this year, so that should be fun to watch. But yeah, Montravius Adams is a pretty good player. I don't really see too much of him because I live in Big Ten country. I rarely watch SEC games. They're rarely on over here. But when I was able to watch, Montravius Adams really stood out because he's just a hog molly in the center of that defensive line, plugging up the run. Now, 7 picks after selecting Adams, the Packers were on the clock again thanks to the Browns with not 7 picks. It was quite a while, actually. The 108 pick in the 4th round. First pick in the 4th round, 108 overall from the Browns. The Packers selected Vince Beagle, linebacker out of Wisconsin. So they bring in a hometown boy from Camp Randall to Green Bay. Well, Vince Beagle, after seeing him, face Ohio State, he is pretty good. I think he'll fit really well in the Packer defense, I always love it when you got hometown kids going to the pro team that's nearest to them, Like when you got Ohio State kids going to Cleveland, which rarely ever happens. When was the last time we drafted an Ohio State player? Wasn't it like Brian Robisky or something like that? It's been a while. But, yeah. I'm not talking about, waiver wire. I'm talking about legit draft. But, yeah. Anyways, Vince Beagle will be a big help to the Packers. Now, with staying in the 4th round, with the 28th pick, 134th overall, the Green Bay Packers selected Jamal Williams, running back out of BYU. I know a lot of people really like this dude. I mean, if we needed a running back, I would have said, hey, we should go after Jamal Williams. But we got Crowell. We're good. We're set. But after the Packers, let Edie Lacy go, I think Jamal Williams would be the next great running back in Green Bay. He's pretty good. He's got talent. Now, moving on to the 5th round, the Packers had 2 picks in the round. First of which they used selecting D'Angelo Yancey, wide receiver out of Purdue. So they love going for those Big Ten guys. And then the second one, they selected Aaron Jones, running back out of Texas El Paso, UTEP. So you get 2 running backs. Okay, I like that. Are they done yet? I don't know. So after that, moving on to the 6th round, the Green Bay Packers selected Kofi Amichia, center out of South Florida. Okay, get yourself a center. After all, J.C. Treader just came here to Cleveland. So you need a backup now. And then, finally, in the 7th round, you had 2 picks The first of which used on Devontae Mays, running back out of Utah State. Again, I never really heard too much about this dude, but from what I hear and what I'm reading, he's got big playability. I think he'll be that matchstick for the Packers offense if he makes the team, because he is a 7th round pick, and it's not easy for those guys to make the team. You got to be like amazing to make the team as a 7th rounder. And then with their last pick of the draft, the Green Bay Packers selected with the 29th pick, 247 overall in the 7th round. The Packers selected Malachi Dupree, wide receiver out of LSU. I remember when I was watching the last round, as the final picks are, drawn past and everything, I was low-key hoping Malachi Dupree would fall to the Browns. Of course, we traded with the Broncos. We got, 252? In the 7th round. I was hoping Malachi would fall to us so we could get a receiver. But no, he went to the Packers. So they got another big play weapon for Aaron Rodgers. So there you have it. That is the NFC North draft reviews. I'm going to give the Packers an A. They had a dang good draft. They know what they're doing when it comes to the draft. But yeah, I'm going to give them an A. They addressed every position. Got themselves a receiver, some running backs. They solidified almost every position that they needed to solidify. So I'm giving them an A. So that will do it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. Go Browns. And for all you NFC North video makers, I'll see you guys whenever we play you guys. So yeah, I'm Crazy Dog, and I'm out.